Whenever we share data, doesn't matter if it's in a big research paper or just a quick chart in a meeting, we're trying to tell a story. But what happens when parts of your audience can't actually read that story? Today, we're going to dig into why making our communication inclusive isn't just a nice thing to do. It's absolutely essential if we want our message to land the way we intend it to. I want to start with this quote from Ilyasha Pete. She's a mother whose son has severe asthma, and her words just cut right to the heart of why this all matters so much. You can feel that fear. It's a powerful reminder that this isn't about abstract numbers on a screen, it's about real people's lives. So, what was fueling that constant fear? Well, it wasn't just the asthma itself. It was something deeper, a systemic problem. Her son is Black, and for decades, most of the research on respiratory diseases in the US has focused almost exclusively on white European Americans. So think about that. The treatments he was getting were very likely based on data from a completely different group of people. And that leads us straight into our first section. What happens when our data and the communication that comes from it actually fails? We've heard the personal stories, so now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. This is the result of those data gaps. It is absolutely devastating. African American children have died from asthma at 10 times the rate of non-Hispanic white children. 10 times. That isn't just a statistic, it's a massive disparity, and it's driven by research that has overlooked entire communities. It shows you exactly what's at stake. And here's the science that explains that terrible number. One study found that when you look at the genetic markers for asthma, only about 5% of the traits identified in European Americans even applied to African Americans. So treatments that are designed for one group just don't work for the other. This is a data problem with literal life or death consequences. But let's be really clear here. This isn't just happening in some far-off medical lab. The exact same principle applies to the work we do every single day. When we don't think about our whole audience, whether we're in a hospital or just a regular boardroom, our message is going to get lost. Let's take a much more common example, color blindness. Did you know that about 8% of men worldwide have some kind of color vision deficiency? That means it's almost guaranteed that in any given meeting, someone in that room is having trouble seeing your data the way you designed it. And this sums it up perfectly. If your audience can't tell the red bar from the green one, the visual story you're trying to tell just completely falls apart. The insight is gone, the chart is basically useless. So why does this happen over and over again? Well, it's almost never malicious. And that brings us to the real root of the problem, something we can call the empathy gap. Look, most of us who work with data, we want to do good, accurate work, right? The issue is that we fail to stop and think about how other people might see our work differently. To really communicate well, we have to start by building on a foundation of empathy. A really great framework for bridging this empathy gap is called cultural competence. As you can see here, it's got 4 main parts: awareness of our own views, a positive attitude toward differences, knowledge of other perspectives, and the skills to actually interact well. Let's just quickly touch on the first 2, because they're really the foundation. The first step is always awareness. This is the part where you have to look inward, right? It's about examining our own biases, because, let's face it, we all have them. Recognizing our own lens on the world is the only way we can start to see and respect how others see it. Next up is attitude. This is about actively choosing to see cultural differences as a source of strength and richness, not as some kind of problem you have to solve. It's a huge mindset shift from just tolerating differences to genuinely appreciating them. And the source material puts this so well. This whole process is an inside-out job. It has to start with us, as individuals, making a real commitment to build these skills. It's a personal journey, but it has a massive impact on our professional work. Okay, so we understand the problem, we know its root cause, but what do we do about it? How do we fix it? That brings us to a simple, really practical framework for making our communication way more inclusive. It really just boils down to these 3 pillars. Number 1, start with empathy. That means asking yourself, if I was a person being represented by this data, would I feel respected? Number 2, design for clarity. Make your visuals so easy to understand that anyone can get it. And number 3, practice inclusivity by actively using techniques that don't shut people out. All right, now for the fun part. Let's take all that theory and put it into practice. I'm talking concrete, actionable steps that you can use like tomorrow to make your own work so much better. Here we go, the perfect before example. We have all seen this chart a million times. The classic red and green to show good versus bad. But remember that 8% of men with color blindness? To them, these two colors can just blur together into a single muddy tone, which makes the chart pretty much impossible to read. And don't get me started on making people look back and forth at a legend. Now, look at the after. So much better. We switched to colors with high contrast, like blue and orange, but the real game changer is putting the labels directly on the bars. Now, the meaning is baked right into the chart itself. It's not just better for people with color vision deficiency, it's clearer for absolutely everyone. Language is another huge one. Just look at the shift on this slide. People first, language puts the person, well, first. It's not the disabled, it's people with disabilities. It seems like a small change, but it's about treating people like people, not reducing them to a single label. Okay, let's run through a few more quick tips. Use patterns or textures in addition to color to add another visual cue. Always, always simplify your charts to tell one clear story. If your data represents a specific group of people, talk to them. Make sure you're getting it right. And finally, think about the order of your data. Don't just default to an order that reinforces old biases, like always putting male or white first. So why does all of this really matter? Why should we do all this? Because when we commit to these practices, the impact goes way beyond just making a prettier chart. It leads to better understanding, which leads to better decisions, which leads to better outcomes for everyone. I think this quote from the Inclusive Data Task Force just perfectly captures the mission here. It's about making sure that everyone counts and is counted, and no one is left behind. That's the goal, right? To make sure our systems are built on a fair and true picture of everybody in our society. And that leaves us with one last question to take back to our own work. Every single chart, every report you make, it tells a story. So the critical question we have to keep asking ourselves is this: who are we leaving out of that story? Just thinking about that is the first step toward creating communication that actually makes a real impact.